And out of dust, God creates the first man, Adam, and breathed into him the breath of life.
And in the middle of the garden, he plants the tree of the knowledge of good and evil.
Serpent tells Eve, I know what God has said, but if you eat this fruit, you won't die. You'll just get really smart.
Throughout time, the Garden of Eden has captured people's imaginations, full of mystery and allure. Despite many failed attempts to find it, a recent expedition says they've figured out where it is, maybe showing us the paradise we lost. Could this be true? Has the famous Garden of Eden finally been found? Let's look into the big discovery made by archaeologists as they try to find out the truth about the Garden of Eden. Archaeologists have just found humanity's biggest discovery yet, the famous Garden of Eden, the paradise given to Adam and Eve by God. For years, historians and scholars have looked for this special garden, but they always came up empty-handed. Until now. A team led by Dr. John Smith has finally found it. Dr. Smith, who has spent years studying old texts and things from the past, made this big discovery after finding a cave in northern Iraq. In this cave, he and his team found a bunch of tunnels underground showing the lost paradise that people have wondered about for years. After weeks of looking around, the team found a big cave that was different from any other they'd seen. It had a waterfall and lots of green plants and fruits. They knew right away that this cave was special. The plants were not like any they knew, but they looked like the ones described in old stories. And the things they found in the cave were really old, showing that it could have been Eden. The researchers were amazed by what they found. According to the stories, Eden was a perfect paradise. There were beautiful plants and sparkling rivers. It was said to be in the east. The first people lived there in peace with nature. Everything was perfect all the time, like it was always spring, with flowers blooming and fruit ready to eat whenever you wanted. In Eden, there were 4 rivers: Pishon, Gihon, Tigris, and Euphrates. The weather was nice all year, never too hot or too cold. It was always like spring, with flowers and fruit all the time. In the Bible, it says Eden had every kind of tree that looked good and had good fruit, including special trees like the tree of life and the tree of knowing good and bad. It was a beautiful place with lots of different plants and animals. It was said that lots of different animals like tigers, bears, lions, and others lived in peace with Adam and Eve and each other in the garden. This big discovery makes people wonder, where is this garden? People have looked everywhere for the Garden of Eden, some thinking it's a real place on earth. Some think the Garden of Eden represents being spiritually complete, but for many, finding Eden hasn't been fruitful. Its location has sparked lots of guesses, from the Middle East to Africa and even the Americas. The mystery remains unsolved. Some scholars suggest it was wiped out by natural disasters like earthquakes or floods, while others think it sunk underwater. Many believe it's in Mesopotamia, now Iraq, because the Tigris and Euphrates rivers there might match the ones in Eden. Plus, Mesopotamia is one of the oldest places where people lived, according to antiques found there. Another idea is that Eden is in Africa, specifically near the Nile River. The Bible mentions rivers like Pishon and Gihon, which some say are the Nile and its branches. This idea is backed by Bible stories. Africa also has some of the oldest human bones ever found, which some connect to Adam and Eve's story. But Dr. Smith's team says Eden is in northern Iraq, close to Turkey and Iran. They think the cave they found might be the way into the garden described in the Bible. Terje Stordalen thinks Eden is in Lebanon, according to the book of Ezekiel. Old stories connect paradise, Eden, and the forests of Lebanon. Lebanon has its own stories about being Eden. Some ancient texts suggest there might be a connection between Eden and mountains in Lebanon and anti-Lebanon, according to Edward Lipinski and Peter Kyle McCarter. Some religious groups believe Eden is close to them, not in the Middle East. Early leaders of Mormonism believed it was in Jackson County, Missouri. The Panacea Society in the 20th century thought it was in their hometown of Bedford, England, while preacher L.V.E. Calloway said it was near Bristol, Florida, by the Apalachicola River. Some think it's in Jerusalem. Christopher Columbus, on his third voyage to the Americas in 1498, thought he found it in South America. Tse Tsan Tai wrote in his book that it's in Xinjiang, now in China. Some think a gate found in Israel could be it. At Tel Lashish National Park, near Mount Hebron, there's an old shrine from the 8th century BCE. It supports stories in the Bible about King Hezekiah trying to stop local customs. Excavations, with help from different groups, happened earlier this year to learn more about the building and develop the park. The goal was to uncover more of the gate, which was partly found a while back in the north. The gate's size matches Lachish's importance in history. According to Emily, who led the dig, Jerusalem is the only place where this matters. The Bible says city gates were where important people met. During the dig, benches probably used by these folks were found. The Lachish Gate, 4 meters tall and 2450 by 2450 meters wide, is now fully exposed. The city's main road goes between 6 chambers, 3 on each side. Emily talked about what they found in the chambers. In the first one, there were benches with armrests and lots of things like jars, grain, scoops, and jar handles with officials' names or seals. Interestingly, 2 handles had the King of Hebron's seal on them. Some people think the Garden of Eden is just a story, not a real place. But how true is this idea? Unlocking the mystery. For some, the Garden of Eden isn't a physical place, but a symbol. They believe it represents a journey to redemption or enlightenment, following the path of Adam and Eve. They see it as a symbol of the innocence lost when they left. Even though the Bible talks about it, some wonder if it was ever real. Some dismiss it as just a myth. But one thing to consider is that God made the garden and gave it a name. Just because we haven't found it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Prophets in the Bible talked about it too, and the tree of life from Genesis is mentioned again in Revelation. Finding the Garden of Eden would be a big deal. It would prove that this legendary place actually existed, which has been talked about for ages. It would also change how we see Adam and Eve's story. This discovery raises new questions and encourages scholars to rethink what the story means. In Revelation, Jesus mentions the tree of life again. The same tree Adam couldn't eat from after he sinned is the one we'll be able to eat from forever. Finding out about the Garden of Eden is important for the environment too. The plants in the cave are different from any we know, so they could help us grow crops that resist diseases and adapt to different weather. Searching for the Garden of Eden is hard work, and there's still no proof it existed. The story comes from religious texts, not science. Geological changes over time could have erased any evidence of it. Maybe natural disasters like earthquakes, floods, or erosion destroyed it long ago. This idea is also backed by human evolution. Human evolution has been going on for millions of years, and it's been complex and varied. But it's unlikely that the place where the Garden of Eden was supposed to be was actually the first home for humans. What lies ahead for us? This sacred site still holds mysteries for us. Finding the Garden of Eden opens up many possibilities and challenges for future studies. Discovering the Garden of Eden might lead to uncovering many things as we explore the deep cave system where it once existed. But scientists need to figure out how to safely enter the caves without harming their delicate ecosystem. Future investigations might reveal information about ancient cultures in the area. We might also learn a lot about the development of farming and gardening by studying the religious importance of the Garden of Eden. The Garden of Eden was full of fruit trees, beautiful plants, and sparkling rivers. The fruits were not only tasty, but also beautiful. It was always blooming, and the weather felt like perpetual spring. It was a place where humans and animals lived together harmoniously. It was truly stunning. So, finding this paradise could change history as we know it. Therefore, the myth of the Garden of Eden has been confirmed by an incredible discovery revealing its true location in northern Iraq. This discovery raises new questions about the story of Adam and Eve and what it means. It also opens up opportunities for further research that could lead to discoveries about ancient cultures, farming, and the environment. There have been many theories about where the garden is located, some based on biblical descriptions of the landscape at that time. The four rivers. According to the Bible, a river flowed from Eden to water the garden before branching out into four rivers. One of these rivers is called Pishon, which includes the region of Havilah, known for its gold. There's also the onyx, stone, and crystal, and the gold in that area is exceptional. The second river, Gishon, flows through Cush. The third river, Hiddekel, starts east of Asher, and the fourth river is Parat. Even a quick reading shows there are four rivers, Pishon, Gishon, Hiddekel, and Parat, all flowing from the Garden of Eden. The famous biblical scholar Rashi says Pishon is the Nile River. He explains that Pishon, meaning gushing forth and overflowing, refers to the Nile, which used to overflow and water Egypt. On the other hand, some say that Pishon is linked to the Hebrew word pishtan, which means flax, pointing to the Nile river-fed flax industry of ancient Egypt. Egyptians were known for mining gold and precious stones since the pre-dynastic era, particularly in the region historically known as Nubia, which covers modern-day southern Egypt and Sudan. From this perspective, Havilah likely refers to somewhere along the Nile, possibly Egypt or Sudan. Others believe Pishon is actually the Ganges River, which flows into the Bay of Bengal through Bangladesh and India. This interpretation matches Yonatan ben Uziel's translation, which renders Havilah as Hinki, an Aramaic version of India. Interestingly, Josephus thought it was related to the Indus River, which also flows through India, with some connections to the modern-day city of Havelian, located between Pakistan and Kashmir on the upper Indus River. The land of Kush is commonly associated with Ethiopia, making Gishon likely the Blue Nile. The Blue Nile starts in Lake Tana, Ethiopia, and merges with the White Nile in Khartoum, Sudan, forming one river that flows to Egypt. R. David Kimchi, a 12th century commentator, explains that Gishon means to diverge, symbolizing the many tributaries diverging from the Blue Nile in Ethiopia. The third river, Hiddekel, is widely believed to be the Tigris River, flowing from southeastern Turkey through Iraq and into the Persian Gulf. Daniel mentioned standing by the Hiddekel River during one of his visions while in exile in Babylonia, which corresponds to modern-day Iraq. Yonatan ben Uziel, a sage from the Second Temple era, translates Hiddekel into the Aramaic word Diglis. Even today, the Tigris is called Dekl in Turkish and Dijla in Arabic. According to this understanding, Asher mentioned in the verse refers to ancient Assyria, centered around the upper Tigris River. Lastly, Parat is identified as the Euphrates River, running almost parallel to the Tigris. Together, these rivers formed a significant part of the Fertile Crescent, the cradle of civilization in ancient times. The name Euphrates comes from the Greek version of the Old Persian Ufratu and the Akkadian Paratu. Even today, it's called Al-Furat in Arabic. Later, the Euphrates River is mentioned in God's promise to Abraham about the land of Israel and as one of the defining borders of the Promised Land. There was a time when members of the tribe of Reuben lived along the banks of the Euphrates. While the identification of these two rivers is clear, the other two are more debated. The verse gives more details about the Pishon River than the others, but the information is still unclear. The Garden of Eden holds significance in all three main Abrahamic religions. According to Jewish tradition, it's both celestial and terrestrial. The celestial Garden of Eden is where a righteous person's soul goes after their time on earth. The terrestrial Garden of Eden is where Yahweh created Adam and Eve, from whom humanity descends. Jewish law in the Talmud describes this garden as being in Eden. Described in Genesis, the garden was a paradise where Adam and Eve lived without pain, sickness, fear, or death until they disobeyed Yahweh's rule by eating from the tree of knowledge. In Islam, Jannat Aden, or Gardens of Eden, refers to a heaven or a city in heaven, symbolizing perpetual gardens and heavens. It's believed that the Garden of Eden, also known as Jannah, is the fourth stage of paradise in Islam, represented by vast pearls. Adn, or Eden, is a garden where those who do good, are patient, and are pure will live in mansions. The gardens are filled with streams and angels. It's from this place that Adam fell to earth, landing on Sarandib. In the Quran, it's simply referred to as the garden. While the Garden of Eden, without the word Aden, is commonly seen as the fourth layer of Islamic heaven, it's not necessarily thought of as Adam's dwelling place. Quranic scholars believe that Jannat is superior to other gardens of heaven. The Gardens of Eden are described in a hadith from the Prophet as beyond human imagination. Despite the biblical account, the Quran mentions only one tree in Eden, also known as the tree of immortality, which Allah specifically forbade Adam and Eve to eat from. Some argue that the mythical paradise cannot be found due to the mythology surrounding its river system, making it impossible to locate by tracing the Pishon, Gihon, Tigris, or Euphrates. A subset of liberal PhD scholars who agree with the anthropological perspective that humans made their deity in their own image see the Garden of Eden as a reconstruction of earlier Mesopotamian stories about the city gardens of the gods and goddesses in ancient Sumer, modern-day Iraq. According to these myths, the gods created city gardens for themselves, named Eden, in the floodplain of Lower Mesopotamia. The Tigris and Euphrates rivers were used for irrigation. Eventually, the gods created humans to care for their gardens, leading to the establishment of irrigation systems and agriculture. The gods didn't create humans out of love for companionship, as taught in Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Instead, humans were made to serve as agricultural slaves, toil in the demanding gardens of Eden under ruthless exploitation by the gods. Man's expulsion from the gods' gardens is unthinkable, as it would force the gods to tend to their own needs, a task they abhorred, thus necessitating the creation of humans as their labor force. Furthermore, the gods withheld godhood and immortality from humans because they were meant solely to serve as agricultural laborers. Granting them immortality would eliminate the purpose of their existence, as who would then provide sustenance for the gods in Eden's gardens? Genesis' Garden of Eden narrative serves as a reinterpretation and rebuttal of Mesopotamian myths, explaining the creation of humanity and their purpose. The original concepts behind Genesis' Garden of Eden are rooted in the city gardens of Eden in ancient Sumer, where each city had its own divine garden to produce food for its deity. Despite the myriad of theories and perspectives surrounding the Garden of Eden, one truth remains paramount. God has ordained that the purest of souls will partake of the tree of life for eternity, regardless of whether its exact location is ever discovered. Whether or not we uncover the Garden of Eden, let's strive to be counted among those destined for eternal life in paradise. Thank you for watching, and please share your thoughts on the recent discoveries regarding the earthly paradise.